Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Small Bites with Lindz. So, I am super excited for today's topic because this woman honestly has changed my life. No joke, she really has. Today's class is all about yoga lifestyle practices with Joan Hyman. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. So, Joan has been my teacher since about 2019 when I did my first yoga teacher training. And I just know that you guys are going to get so much value out of what she has dedicated her life to learning and teaching along the lines of living a yoga lifestyle. And today she's here to really tell us and explain to us what that means.
Yes.
Joan, do you have anything to say to kind of introduce yourself?
Well, thank you for that introduction. And yes, so yoga is my life. I was thinking about that the other day. I'm very dedicated to these practices, and I feel like it's given me a life of abundance. And when I talk about abundance, it's just everything that I love to do. I love to teach yoga. I love to travel. I love to have the availability in the day to sit on my mat for 2 hours and do yoga, and also spend some beautiful time in different parts of the world. So I attribute that to the many blessings of yoga. Yes.
Yes, that's amazing. And it's cool to see how you've really designed your life
Yeah.
purposefully. Like you've
Yeah.
created exactly what you've wanted. That's very cool to see.
Yeah. And I
So,
remember when I first learned yoga, my teacher said, practice first. And I just really made my schedule about my practice and about feeling healthy. And then everything else just kind of fell into place.
yeah, I'm beginning to see that. I'm learning from you. So, my first question is that many people associate yoga with working out, and
Mm,
that's really all they know it as, especially here in the US.
yeah.
So, could you tell us a little bit more about what yoga is besides just like a workout?
Yeah. So, I mean, classically, yoga means to yoke the mind into the body through the vehicle of the breath, which helps us connect to our spirit. And when I lead trainings, I always ask students, what's the difference between exercise and yoga? Because you're right, especially in America, it's really getting skewed these days. And think about the benefits you gain from fitness. You feel amazing right afterwards. Your superficial body, like all of those muscles that we can see with the visible eyes, get stronger. And it also amps up your sympathetic, where yoga does the opposite. Yoga doesn't make you have a six pack, but it strengthens all of the deep muscles that reside close to the skeleton. So it really creates a lot of core stability and a sense of just being stable in your body because you're yoking your mind to your breath as you're moving through space. It really creates a meditative space. So it creates a mind that has some calmness, some clarity, and you feel relaxed afterwards. And because you feel relaxed, I find your energy is much more sustainable. And with your yoga practice, you want to elicit the PNS, which is the rest and digest response. So your energy, at least I find, lasts all day long. There's a heightened sense of energy you gain from practice. And I also feel practicing yoga for the past 25 years that it really aids with the sense of longevity, health and well-being, not just physical health, but mental health. And I think a lot of times when we have a lot of stress in our body because our mental health is imbalanced, this is what causes sickness and disease. So the practice of yoga actually can help with the longevity because it helps to relax and it helps to alleviate stress.
Wow, that was
Those
an
are
amazing
some of the benefits.
amazing answer. I honestly get so many mental health benefits from the practice of yoga, and that's why I keep coming back to it. Even though I get into that through the physical part because I still am there, and then
Yeah.
I work the meditation and pranayama. But I see such a difference from doing a yoga practice than doing like a workout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very different. Yeah.
Yeah. And continue to observe that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Um, so my next question for you is what are some yoga practices that can help us stop negative self-talk and thinking?
There's actually a yoga practice that's called Pratipakshabhavanan. It's in the sutras. Do you remember that one?
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
And it is when negative thoughts arise to think the opposite. And it sounds, I mean, it sounds like, okay, but it's actually very challenging, as we know. And I think the first thing that the practice of yoga helps is it helps you feel good in your body. It helps you feel stable. And then you can actually start to observe the condition of your mind. So, if you're thinking a lot of negative thoughts, what the practice of yoga does is it helps you not identify so much with all of the thoughts that are on your mind. Right away, we learn we are not our thoughts. And then as we put some space between our thoughts and, who we really are, we can observe, like, why am I thinking all these negative thoughts? Like, what is underneath it? And a lot of times, if you really dig what's underneath a lot of negativity, it's low self-esteem, not feeling good enough, not having enough self-love. And yoga helps you get to the root of the problem. And so if you can really sit with that uncomfortable, which the practice does help, you can start to really create a practice that has more self-love, create a practice that has much more compassion. And instead of being judgmental to someone, and that's creating a lot of negativity, reverse that and actually have a lot more compassion. Like, really try to understand that person and also understand yourself. Like, why is this triggering me? And I think through a deep understanding and through the wisdom we gain through self reflection, we really have the power to change a lot of our negative thoughts around.
Yes. Oh my gosh, 100%. That was one thing after our India retreat was I really started working on why is this person triggering like me? Like,
Hmm.
oh, it's probably not just them.
No, the world is
There's
a
something
mirror.
else going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So self-reflection,
Mm.
amazing part of what yoga offers.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is how can yoga help us heal our past pain and trauma?
Well, that's a big question. And I think for a lot of us, I mean, I came into yoga through the physical too. I was a dancer and I have definitely a lot of athletic ability. And I think the asana practice just makes you feel so good in your body and you feel grounded, you feel alert, you feel strong and relaxed at the same time. And that's a great thing for healing trauma because a lot of times when you have trauma, you disassociate from your body. And
Mhm.
when you practice asana, it helps you get in your body and your body becomes a safe place. And once that happens and you're anchored, then you can start to observe all of this unresolved trauma, these deep emotions, and you can process them in a way where you feel safe and grounded. So it's much easier to work through your stuff when you feel comfortable in your body. And I also find through practicing yoga, as we feel better and our vibration picks up, we start to steer our thinking process. And we also direct our attention to things that make us feel better. And that includes people that, we're around. We choose people that uplift us as opposed to people that bring us down. So I think yoga just makes you feel really good. And then, if once you start to feel good in your body, you have the ability to really start to look at yourself and do the deep inner work and hopefully heal some of that unresolved trauma.
Joan, your answers are just so amazing. I'm just trying to completely absorb everything you're saying. That is very insightful. Yeah.
Thank you.
We all have the work to do. Yeah, it's just so much. I like what you're saying about how yoga creates this safe space within ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
That really resonates with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it helps us, I find when I practice yoga, I'm really able to hold my energy in, and when my cup feels full, it makes it much easier for me to deal with, all the stuff that as human beings we have to deal with constantly.
Yeah. Life.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, and people, yeah. Everything, yeah.
Well, this brings me to my next question, which is how can yoga teach us to be more selfless and diminish the ego?
And that's another big question. So I was thinking of that, and I mean, like I said earlier, the practice of yoga helps us learn to sit with the uncomfortable. And, when you practice yoga, it doesn't get easier. It actually gets more challenging because as we practice yoga and we go deeper, more stuff comes up. And so, as we progress in the practice, we do harder poses, we sit longer in our meditation, we do more advanced pranayamas. So that gives space for more unconscious stuff that might be creating a lot of triggers in our life to arise. And as we create that safe space, we're able to move into a place of self reflection and not be so triggered so easily. And that's what the ego does. The ego constantly wants more. And the practice of yoga teaches us to sit back and learn to observe and have a little bit of a pause before we react. Now, I find over a long period of practice, um, just like getting older does, there's a softening that happens in the physical body. There's a softening that happens, through all of the triggers that go on in our mind. So we do naturally start to reside in our heart space more. We practice yoga as a way to learn to serve. And so there's something called your dharma. When we're living our dharma, we're really living connected to our soul's journey. But if we're in our head all the time and we're constantly feeding the ego, battling our triggers, we're not going to connect to that deep, quiet space inside that wants to navigate our steering wheel and live in our highest potential. And I find when you're able to connect to your soul's journey and live from your highest potential and come from a place of service, I mean, this is the highest journey that we can take as a human being. You learn to live from your heart space and not live from an egoic place. Now, that said, the practice of yoga can also enhance your ego. I mean, people get really attached to the poses. It makes them feel good. Yoga teachers feel really, good about themselves when people come to class. So, I mean, to get to that place, you also have to, keep observing, when are you in your ego? And, when are you operating from a place where you're more compassionate? You're looking at life from a perspective that's more zoomed out and about how can I make this, this space that I'm in a better place instead of taking all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really has taught me that. It's interesting. Like I started yoga and I was like, oh, I can do all these arm balances. So it was like definitely all about the poses for
Yeah.
me. And then it just like has completely transformed into being more of like a spiritual journey.
Yeah. Yeah. When we first start practicing, it is about obtaining, getting poses, building your program, learning this, learning that. But after you've been practicing for like 20, 30 years, and especially as you start getting older, it's about non attachment. I mean, because you can't do all the things that
Yeah.
you used to do when you're young, and all of a sudden your practice shifts. So you move into a place of really some deep letting go. And I find that's when the more advanced stages of yoga happen.
Yeah. And that's also honoring or letting go of the ego because you're like, I cannot do that. I need to do child's pose.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the softening happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's starting over here.
It takes time.
Well, I've got a couple more things to ask you. So, if you are feeling down or like a bad mood or low energy, do you have a practice that is kind of easy to help you improve your mood?
Yeah, I mean, move your body sun salutations because they're dynamic. They really help to, remove that stuck energy. You're moving and you're breathing. Your arms are overhead. Any poses where your arms are overhead help to uplift you. Inversions, handstands, they're great. I actually add a lot of handstands in my classes just to lift the energy up. Um, and back bends. Back bends are the quickest way to really wake everything up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Joan, oh my goodness, you are just like so amazing to me. I'm serious. So,
Aw.
I think you have such a profound effect that you probably don't even realize at this point, but you really do. And I
Well,
appreciate you.
thank you. Like I said, I really try to, live from a bigger picture and not get hooked with the ego, so thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Well, I think that's what's so amazing about you is you really live it.
Thank you.
Like you do the work and
Yeah,
it shows. And that's what's so powerful for us to all see,
thank you.
and really admirable.
Thank you. Like I said, the practice of yoga has really transformed me, and I'll also have love because, I run the school of yoga, and seeing how much it transforms students. I mean, that for me is why I do what I do.
Yeah. So amazing. So that actually leads me to my final question. Where can everybody find you and let them know a little bit about the retreats and your school?
Yeah. Well, I just started a 300-hour teacher training here in LA at the Center for Yoga with my school. So my school, School of Yoga, is a teacher training and a continuing education school. And even though we have a group that is pretty steady through the training, we're opening up the modules to the public. So my next module is June 7th to 9th. It's about sequencing. And then we have Annie Carpenter, Marla App, Jean Heileman, Lisa Walford. So check that out. I'm headed to Europe this fall. I teach in Europe a lot because I live in Europe part-time. And I'm also doing a 100-hour advanced training in the Austrian Alps in June of next year. And it's at a beautiful, beautiful retreat center with amazing vegan food and just amazing views. Amazing. It's just amazing.
I wasn't aware of this. I think I might
Yeah.
be there.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. Yeah, we just put it up like 2 days ago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what is your Instagram handle?
Joan Hyman School of Yoga. And then the
Okay.
school has a separate Instagram called school of dot yoga dot official.
Okay. So I'll plug all of that in the
Okay,
description of the podcast.
great. Thank you.
Well, Joan, thank you so much for coming on here today. I really appreciate it. And I know that everyone listening, I'm sure, is going to get something incredible from this.
Thank you. Well, it's so great to see you, Lindsay, and thank you for having me on.
Thank
You're
you,
always
Joan.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.